When you look at my case, you know, my situation might not be as severe as some of the others, but I was still labeled a psychopath. You can't sit there and call somebody a psychopath unless you look at the stuff that happened in their past. My name is Jonathan. I'm 17 years old and I'm in first-degree murder. You know, they asked me stuff like if I knew what I did was wrong. You know, I said, yeah, I knew it was wrong, but I still didn't care. You know, like, it didn't bother me that I'd taken somebody's life. It didn't bother me that, you know, I did that to his parents or anything like that. It's not like I hold back emotions, because I don't hold them back. It's just that I don't show them. It's like a lot of people say, why do you hold back your emotions? You know, like, why? Like, isn't it easier for you to just to let them go? It's not that I hold them back. It's just that they're not there. Like, you know, before I even thought of doing what I was doing, there was a lot of stuff going on at home. Yeah, I remember when my mom and dad were still together. You know, those were like the best memories I have. But those are the memories when I was the happiest. Like, after they split up first when I was 3, and everything just went down the tubes from there. You know, like it really affected my life that way. It kind of changed my view on the world. You know, like, kind of made me believe that nothing lasts forever, that everything always changes, that nothing good will stay. So that's probably the worst thing that somebody else did to me. I had a brother. I was an identical twin, and we were both born about 3 months premature. And he died 7.5 months after we were born, just from being severely sick. With my mom, I lived with my mom after they split up. It made her really controlling, you know, that she lost one son and that she didn't want to lose another. So she was constantly holding on to me, making sure that she was always with me, or that she knew where I was, and it was, I don't know, it made me feel kind of restricted in what I could do. You know, like I'd see all my friends do certain things, and, you know, I'd want to go out and do it with them, but there'd be my mom standing beside me saying, oh, that's so dangerous, you can't do it, you know. Sometimes, you know, I go back and wonder what would it have been like if my twin didn't die. You know, like, maybe I wouldn't be here. It's hard to say, you know, maybe she wouldn't be as controlling if he didn't die. We had like these mud hills behind our school that I used to bike down, and she'd never let me go, you know. She'd always say, oh, well, people get hurt there and people break their legs, which did happen a lot, but I didn't really see a danger in it.
Usually, like, do you find you're a pretty big risk taker?
Oh yeah, I did a lot of stuff like that, you know, and it was even better when my mom didn't know, because then there was the whole fact that she could find out. Like, some things it's just there, you know. Some things I really feel emotions for, but other things it's just gone. You know, I'll look around and I'll see people watching the news and something tragic will happen, and they're all like, oh my God, like, I can't believe that happened, you know, and I'd be like, why? You know, like, it's just something that happened, you know, move on. You know, somebody would say, like, why would you do that? And I'll say, you know, it's just joking. Like, not realizing that I hurt that person, or not really caring that I hurt that person. I've done that a lot. I still do that sometimes. Like, before, when my dad was there, I didn't really realize how controlling my mom was. So when he left, it really hit me. And that's when I started doing stuff that she didn't like me doing, just to kind of piss her off. It was little stuff at first, you know, and then later on, as I got older, I started, like, stealing stuff from her, stealing money, stealing stuff that she wouldn't give me, you know. It's like she'd go into my room a lot. She used to, like, snoop around my room and take stuff, so I'd go back into her room after and take it back, and that really pissed her off. That's the reason I did it, you know. I didn't really want the stuff back. It was more I wanted to piss her off, so I went into the room and took it back. Well, I didn't even, like, the thought of my crime didn't even come up until I was 14. That's the age I did it, but it started getting really bad when my stepdad came into the picture. Because, like I said, my mom was really controlling. When my dad wasn't there, it made it worse because he wasn't on my side. When my stepdad came in, it was like my stepdad was there for my mom, and he was totally against me. So anything my mom said, my stepdad was always on her side, and it always made everything twice as bad, you know? Like, he felt that he had to take over the role of my father because my dad wasn't there, and that really pissed me off. I was taking money from her, so I got it bad for that, you know? Like, my room was pretty much stripped. I had nothing in it. My bed, you know, that's it. But then those are things that she found out right away. There were a lot of things I was doing that she didn't find out about until a lot later. Well, I started drinking when I was like 11, but I've only ever done marijuana twice, but when I was in grade 9, I did coke a lot. So that was one thing I had going. You know, I started smoking when I was 10, and I did that for 4 years. That was another thing I had that she found out about. Anytime she'd find out about me doing something that she didn't approve of, I'd get in trouble for it, I'd get grounded for it. Like, I remember a time when I was doing a school project, and I always waited to the last minute to do things. And so I went with my dad for the weekend, and me and my dad worked on this project all weekend, and it took us a long time. It was like a brochure. So when we finished it, we went back to my mom's house, we showed it to her, and she's like, oh, you know, it looks like shit. It's not good. You can't hand this in, you know, you're gonna get a bad mark. So she said, okay, well, if you get something below 70 or whatever, then you're gonna be grounded like longer. And so I went to school and I got like an A on it, which is like an 80, 85. And we brought it back to her, you know, me and my dad brought it back just to kind of push it in her face, you know, that I did work hard on it. And she hardly even, like, she didn't even look at me. Her answer automatically was, if you worked harder on it, then you could have got a better mark and it could have been better. And my dad stuck up for me then, but she ended up slamming the door in his face and telling him to get the fuck out of the house, which was a big thing for me. You know, that's something in my life that I'll never forget. But like I said before, I went to talk to my guidance counselor about that, and she gave me a couple numbers to phone, and that didn't help me either, you know. Like, I was expecting, that was kind of the last straw, you know. I was expecting her to step in and help me with that, but instead she kind of just sat back and said, you know, we've heard this story many times before, and like, you're gonna pull through it just like everybody else. And so when it got that bad, you know, I was really thinking of ways to get out of the house, and you know, the last thing I thought about was coming to jail, you know, getting myself locked up. And I couldn't think of something that would give me lots of time, you know. I didn't want to go away for a year, I didn't want to go away for 2 years, you know, I wanted to be away for a while. So the thing at that time that would give me the most time, you know, was killing somebody. Yeah, I told a couple people. You know, I told 2 people, I think, 2 or 3 people, and you know, they didn't believe me because I said I was going to do it before. So one of them asked the teacher to go to the bathroom, and he went outside, and he got as far as the edge of the forest, and he saw something there, and as soon as he saw it, he came back in, and he was pretty white, so as soon as he walked back in, everybody knew that what I was saying was true. There was always people around, you know, school that pissed me off, or people that I didn't like, and so I had a couple people, and you know, the one I chose, his name was Mike. I knew him since I was in grade 7, and we were friends at the start. You know, we liked the same music, we liked the same stuff, you know. But between grade 7 and 8, sometime, you know, things started falling apart. You know, I didn't talk to him as much. I didn't do anything. He was always trying to start fights with me. You know, I'd get in fights with him a lot over stupid stuff. And it was like he was coming up to me every day trying to get me to fight him, you know. So Mike was the one I ended up choosing. And so every day at school, we went out behind the school and hung out in like a little forest area. That's where we'd just smoke, do drugs, talk, whatever, during lunch. I knew he'd come out there with us, so when I was in class, I was thinking of what I could do, how I could get him. And I was thinking, like if I used a gun, that'd be the quickest way to do it. But then there was a problem, like where would I get a gun, Like I didn't hang around with anybody that had guns, or my parents didn't have guns. So that was out of the question, Then I thought about a knife, about stabbing him or cutting his throat. And then I thought, that'd be really messy, and I didn't really want to do that. So I had my belt on, and it was during third period, I think. I had lunch right after it. I was sitting in class, and I took my belt off and tied it around my arm to see how tight I could get it. So, I decided that was the best way, so I put it in my pocket, and I went to lunch. And I told my best friend what was going to happen. So we went out to the forest, and Mike followed us, just like he usually did. And we got out there, and we were all talking. There was about 7 or 8 of us at that time, and we were all talking, making jokes, And most of the people were starting to leave, so it was only my best friend, Mike, and me at the forest at that time. So I went behind my best friend, and I put my belt around his neck and asked him if he trusted me. He said, yeah. So I said, all right, tap me on the leg when you can't breathe. So I started pulling on the belt, and he tapped me on the leg, so I let go of it. And I went up to Mike, and I said, do you trust me? And he said, yeah, which, the first thing that went through my mind was that was the stupidest thing he could say, like I couldn't believe he said it. And so I went, all right, so I put the belt around his neck, and I started pulling on it. And by that time, my best friend had walked to the edge of the forest just so he could barely see us. And Mike eventually tapped on my leg, and I just pretended that I couldn't feel it. So that's when my best friend walked out of the forest. He just walked away, and so Mike eventually tapped me again on the leg harder, and that's when I just really started pulling on the belt. We fought. It took 2 or 3 minutes before he ended up getting me on the ground, and when he got me on the ground, the belt slipped up around his chin, so he could breathe again. So I was panicked, he was panicked, so I said, if you get up off me, then I'll let go of the belt, and I was going to. So he started standing up. and I saw the belt slip around his neck again. So, you know, in that split second, you know, the things that were going through my head was like, you know, if I let him go, he's gonna go tell people that I did it, you know, and he'll have marks on his neck to prove it, you know, and if I don't get arrested for that, you know, I'll get in shit from my parents. So I thought, you know what, there's no way I can just let him go, so I just started pulling on it again. And, you know, by then I was in front of him. It took another 2 minutes before he just died. I didn't really know if he was dead, you know, like, so I tied the belt around his neck and I went back to my class, my last period class. My court went on for a long time. It went on for, well, not a long time, it went on for about a year. And I ended up just pleading guilty. I didn't go through trial. You know, I thought it'd be easier to just plead guilty and get it over with. I already knew that I was gonna be screwed over in the end, so I pled guilty. You know, they asked me stuff like if I knew what I did was wrong. You know, I said, yeah, I knew it was wrong, but I still didn't care. You know, like, it didn't bother me that I'd taken somebody's life. It didn't bother me that, you know, I did that to his parents or anything like that. I didn't say anything, I didn't look at anybody, I didn't have any emotion on my face, you know, I didn't feel anything through most of it. You know, and I don't understand why it didn't bother me at that time. You know, like how I could do that and not care about anybody. You know, they brought up a lot of stuff about Mike's past, you know, how good of a boy he was, you know, stuff like that. Like, he was good in school and he had his whole life ahead of him. You know, and he said, they said stuff that, like, his grandmother said something that I'll think of for the rest of my life, you know. She said that when he was alive, he taught her how to use the email, you know, like how to send messages. And she said that, you know, to that day, to the day that we were at court, you know, she still sends him emails every day telling him how much she misses him and how much she loves him, and, you know, that she wishes he was still alive. That was the biggest thing for me, you know. That one did affect me at court, but I still, you know, I wasn't giving myself permission to show it for some reason. Yeah, John Lynch is my pioneer teacher. He helped me out a lot, you know, trying to find out why I didn't care and stuff like that. You know, he'd always question me on everything I said, because he'd ask a lot of questions after I got sentenced, you know, just out of curiosity, but also to help me, you know, like, he'd ask, like, what happened and why it happened. And, you know, at the time I didn't have answers, but over time things just started coming to me, you know. He kind of opened my mind up for taking that stuff in, you know, to think about it. When I was out, I didn't, you know, understand why my mom was so controlling, you know. Now I have at least a little bit of knowledge on that, you know, like, I kind of understand why she did it. So, you know, I wouldn't put so much blame on her, you know, like, I would understand. So that's one thing, you know. And I mean, there's tons of stuff I could have done different, you know. In the end, you know, it does depend on you to make the decisions, you know. If you're not willing to work on stuff, then you're never going to get work done. But, I mean, even if you are willing, if there's nothing there to help you, then it's hard to do it. You know, it's really hard to do it on your own. You know, like, you may think that it's bad what you're going through. You know, like, you may think that it's worth getting away from. You know, it's worth doing whatever you have to do to get away from it. But you know, in the end, it's not. You're going to end up making a decision that you're going to regret, and you'll have to live with it for the rest of your life. And that's a lot worse than living with something that you have to live with for maybe a couple of years. It's not like I chose to be where I am today. It's not like I chose to have the problems I did. You know, it was all that stuff happened over time, and it happens with everybody. You look at people like Paul Bernardo and all of these people that were labeled as psychopaths, you know, or serial killers. You know, it didn't just happen. You know, like, when you look at my case, you know, my situation might not be as severe as some of the others, but I was still labeled a psychopath. It doesn't matter how you look at it, you know. I had all this stuff that happened to me in the past, and so is everybody else. You know, you can't sit there and call somebody a psychopath unless you look at the stuff that happened in their past.